So when parties are getting into a commercial agreement, okay, it kind of just comes down to knowing what exactly do you want to happen there. In short, specifications. Now, specifications will detail exactly what it is that is supposed to be delivered. And specifications can be classified into two. We're talking about conformance, in which case, this is what I want you to do, and therefore you do it. And performance, where I tell you these the sort of results that I desire, and therefore you be creative and see how you can produce those results for me. Well, there are a number of things that you need to factor in when you're creating your specifications, which is what you're going to look at in this video. Well, if you're new to this channel, hi, I'm Moses and welcome to Zerite Network, and do ensure that you've subscribed and hit the notification bell to be notified each time we put out a new video. Of course, if you are one of our returning viewers, ensure that you give this video a thumbs up to help with engagement, okay, and the metrics. Now, let's talk about specifications, okay? There are a number of things that you need to factor in when you are designing your specifications. And the first one is, or rather number one, we're talking about the purpose. You must find out what you intend to achieve. What exactly do you want to achieve? Because specification kind of tells the supplier or the party with whom you're having that business agreement what you want. They also have their specification. So when you're designing a specification, what is the purpose of that specification? Number two, stakeholders' needs. First of all, when we talk about stakeholders, we're talking about people who can affect or be affected by that transaction, okay? If it's a contract. If it is just a business, a stakeholder is anybody who can affect or be affected by the business activities. This could be the government, it could be your boss, it could be your employees, it could be the community. So if you design a specification, let's say you want something like, you want a lot of, firewood to be supplied. There is the question of, what about the environmental impact? Now you think, well, it's my forest, I can cut down the trees, good for you, except there are environmental consequences. And there are stakeholders who are going to fault you using that. So you need to understand, what are the stakeholders' needs? If it's just a question of your boss, what do they want? While you may be interested in getting into a transaction with the company, but then maybe somebody in that company thinks that is not a good company to be doing business with because of public relation nightmare. And then they stop that entire thing because of that. Number three, the scope of specification. You are going to have to make a choice about what to include and exclude from the specification. Now, how you do this will depend on how you answer the following questions. Number one, will the scope change during the contract? And if so, how? Also, are there any user training needs required? Is there any internal input needed? That is going to be important. Number four, the other thing that you need to factor in, improvement and innovation. The question is, do you just recycle specifications or do you create new ones? These are some of the things that you need to factor in. Before you use an older specification template, you need to ask yourself, is there anything that has changed since the specification template was designed? What might change while the contract is in place? You also need to know that, because if you just take a template specification and you change the date, you change the name, and you supply it, you send it, maybe something has changed in that contract. Maybe something has changed. So what is that? Next, the other thing that you also need to factor in is regulatory compliance and quality. Okay, you need to know the standards that are to be met. For instance, the national and international quality standards such as ISO, data protection, and data security. You also, number six, need to understand the type of specification. We've talked about that one. Is it performance? Is it conformance? Okay. If you don't know what you want, you know the kind of results that you desire, but you don't know the process involved in making that thing, then you're more likely to be using performance specifications. If it is in an engineering, then, well, you are telling them what to do because you know what you want. You know the millimeter, meters, whatever, all those measurements, then they just have to conform with that. So in that case, you're using conformance specification. So what is the type of specification? Number seven, the relevance. Okay, before you include anything as part of your specification, ask yourself, is this thing relevant to the contract that you're going to arrive at? So don't just put things because you want to put them there. Okay, number 8, how will the performance be measured? Specification will lead to designing of key performance indicators. And remember, they're called key performance indicators, so not all performance indicators. So if you put rubbish specification, so how do you know that those ones have been achieved? Yeah, so you need to ensure that you know, if I put this specification here, this is how we are going to know if it has been achieved. And number 9, clarity. So specifications must be clear and they must not be ambiguous. And finally, service condition. You have to take account of any impact that could be made by the point of delivery itself, including things like operating and storage conditions, availability of energy, safety consideration, etc. Because again, remember, performance is key. So those are 10 things that you need to factor in as you are designing a specification. If there is any question, do let me know. Okay. Also, if you like, you can support this channel in Patreon. Okay. That is Zerate Network. So patreon.com/Zerate Network. If there is any question, do let me know. I'm Moses from Zerate Network, and I'll see you in the next video.